we are getting into the semi-final round here. Not too much left for the tournament. I am Dennis Geisler. I have Pikachu with me, of course. Our names are backwards on the thing. I'm actually Pikachu. I'm Pikachu. That's Dennis. We're about to get into semi-finals. Our last top cut of Reg G here at Psycho Turtle. Of course, we will have more tournaments here. You can look at PokemonLabs.com to see all of the upcoming tournaments, including the Cup, which will be at Griffith Park on May 31st, which will be very exciting. Aaron Brok against Anthony Ascencia is our semi-final that we're going to get here on stream. Both players with those Koraidon teams, which can always be a really interesting mirror matchup, the way that the two Sun teams match up against each other. Aaron is running the Koraidon, Fluttermane, Shiyu, Brute Bonnet, Walking Wake, and Tickaton. Anthony with the Koraidon, Fluttermane, Raging Bolt, Iron Crown, Female Indeedee, and Ogerpon Cornerstone. Obviously, we've seen that Iron Crown Koraidon team at Atlanta. I'm going to go with Atlanta being the location. And then this Photosynthesis heavy team is something we've seen developed over a period of time. Although, actually, now that I think about it, that Ogerpon is not Brute Bonnet. I think it should be, it would be Brute Bonnet, usually. I don't know. In any case, neither team has a way or incentive to remove the Sun, and so that does mean that we're probably going to get mostly permanent Sun for this game, which boosts up Chiyu's damage. We saw that be very useful in Aaron's last series. It'll boost up Walking Wake quite a lot with the Photosynthesis plus the choice specs. It'll be a real interesting one. Getting underway now, it's the Ogerpon and the Fluttermane against the Fluttermane and the Brute Bonnet. So both teams have their Grass-type Redirector and their Fluttermane out on the field right now. That Fluttermane is Chinese. Both these Fluttermanes are Focus Sash as well, so they're both going to take a Shadow Ball from the other Fluttermane. You would probably assume they're Speed-Tied. If I was playing Fluttermane, I would assume they're Speed-Tied, although I guess you don't know for sure. Well, one of these two probably knows whether they're Speed-Tied or not. We'll see Aaron's go first, get the Icy Wind off. It breaks the Sash on Anthony's. Gets the Speed Drop, of course. Brute Bonnet is wiggling a little bit down there. Brute Bonnet does wiggle. And actually the double up into the Brute Bonnet, still slower, very slow Pokemon, not able to booster speed, of course, to get the booster speed Spore. And it'll get knocked out with just those two attacks off the bat. See if that sets up an opportunity for Aaron to get a switch in for something, but losing the Brute Bonnet this early is not necessarily ideal. I mean, you're losing a Pokemon for nothing, and that was, your Redirector at the very least. Rhydon's gonna take the field now. Does mean that the photosyntheses, the multiple examples of photosynthesis will activate on both of the Fluttermanes. This is these Koraidons. We've seen a bunch of different versions of Koraidon today. This is the Scale Shot variant. So we'll be able to boost its speed that way, but not through like a Flame Charge or something. And it is loaded dice. On the other side is the normal Clear Amulet version, but it does have Breaking Swipe as well as the Collision Course. You can see Electro Furia, the Raging Bolt, come out here. It will not take a Scale Shot very well, but you probably assume a Scale Shot's not going into the former Fluttermane slot. Rhydon's going to Terra, which makes sense. Don't want to stay as your normal typing in front of that Fluttermane. That does probably mean that you have to commit to a Flare Blitz onto the Ogerpon right now, or something into the Ogerpon, who just Spiky Shields. This could just be damage back. No, it's a scale shot into the Ogerpon. Does not make contact, I don't believe, so it should not activate the Spiky Shield. Indeed, it does not. And now, a bit of a more awkward spot for Aaron. He'll take a bit of damage from Thunderclap from the Ogerpon. Ogerpon can also redirect away from the Raging Bolt if you want to do something a little bit scarier. Just a Thunderbolt or a Dragon Pulse. Or even a Snarl, which will break the Fluttermane's Sash and weaken it quite a bit. Particularly if you're trying to set up a nice spot for your Koraidon to come in. But speaking of Koraidon coming in, it's going to just come in right now. Fluttermane, or no it won't. Fluttermane's actually coming in. I forgot that it was still around, honestly. That's on me. This is back to its main speed stat after getting dropped by Icy Wind earlier. We'll get the Terra on the Raging Bolt. Terra Electric. As much damage as possible, as well as taking away the weakness to Fairy and Dragon that is currently being threatened. So offensive and defensive. We'll see the Thunderclap. There's the offensive part of it. Into the Fluttermane. It will not bring it down to Sash, but close enough. Moonblast the other direction. A little bit of damage. No drop. Collision Course as well. See how much this does. Should be pretty good damage. Ooh, not enough to KO the Raging Bolt. Very, very close, but just not enough. It has one more Thunderclap left in it, although both of these Pokemon have the ability to protect, so either of them could draw away the Thunderclap. At the same time, the Fluttermane is also there, and can't really ignore that entirely. What is the play here? What is the read? Probably going to come down to that, a read. Fluttermane protects. That is Aaron's Fluttermane, excuse me. It does read the Thunderclap. Anthony wanted to pick up the knockout there. Just couldn't get it. Ooh, and the Icy Wind the other way. This could be really interesting. The Icy Wind will drop the Koraidon's speed, but a Scale Shot, which will connect, will boost its speed back up. Now it's -1 defense and neutral speed, which is not ideal, but it's better than minus speed. Particularly when you do have both these Fluttermanes around, which will be influencing the speed in this matchup quite a bit. That does bring Anthony, I believe, just down to the... No, because Ogerpon switched out into Fluttermane. Yeah, so Ogerpon is still available, as well as Anthony's last Pokemon, which is most likely the Koraidon. See, the Ogerpon is the choice here. Aaron really wants to make sure that Koraidon doesn't get in too much trouble here, as that could be very difficult to deal with Anthony's Koraidon at the end here if it is taken out. Aaron's own Fluttermane is on fairly low HP. Which Fluttermane is faster? That is a very important question here. We're actually jamming out here. You get the Fluttermane Icy Wind, no protects. We'll drop the speed of the other Fluttermane, drop Ogerpon's speed as well. It is pretty good damage to Ogerpon, honestly. Icy Wind's both ways, actually. And Aaron's Fluttermane not actually going to get knocked out there. 3 HP remaining. And Scale Shot's going to maintain maintain Koraidon's speed stat. So now it's -2 defense, but it is still at neutral speed. Now we'll knock out the Ogerpon, so down to the final 2 Pokemon for Anthony. Koraidon, the reliable partner, now taking the field. I don't know how much sun is remaining. Yeah, just the one turn of sun remaining now that the Koraidon is coming in. Which side feels like they rely on sun more? Do either of them think that they need to go for that? And also, I mean, if it's in photosynthesis boost plus minus speed, Fluttermane is probably still faster. Well, this will be an interesting play. Fluttermane's going to switch out on Aaron's side. Anthony's can't, obviously. And we'll bring in the Chi-Yu. Beads of Ruin now active. Aaron's Koraidon protects as well. So this will stall out the remaining sun. Icy Wind will drop Chi-Yu down to a more normal speed tier, if that makes any sense. As it's Choice Scarf, but it's brought down. There's Collision Course. At -2, Collision Course is going to be pretty good against that Koraidon there. But now, with Fluttermane at -1 and Koraidon at neutral, it should be a matter of which Koraidon is faster at this point. Fluttermane shouldn't be able to set the weather priority here. Or excuse me, the speed tier priority here because the weather is gone. It is simply a question of which Koraidon is faster. Fluttermane will protect, so that might not end up even mattering if the right play is made. Yeah, Aaron's moves first, but gets blocked by the protect. And so that means Anthony's Koraidon is able to make its move. And that Collision Course should knock out the Koraidon. At -2, that's double damage, and yeah, that's going to pick it up. There it goes, Aaron's Koraidon. Oh, it's so sad. No. Chi-Yu Flamethrower does go into the Koraidon. Let's do a little bit of damage. Could get the burn, not going to get the burn. And so Aaron's Fluttermane coming back out now. What is the play? 3 HP, any damage will take it down. It has the speed priority over everything on the field right now. It is the fastest Pokemon out. Protect not available for Anthony's Fluttermane, but it is available for the Koraidon. I think Koraidon should be faster than Chi-Yu. It'll come down protects. Ooh, Koraidon does protect. That could be really big for Anthony. There's the call out of whether it would protect or not, and the Moonblast will cover that option. But it did protect. Chi-Yu Flamethrower into the Fluttermane. Is it enough to KO? It is! It is enough to KO, and it was faster. The Fluttermane was slower than... Oh, because the photosynthesis went away, the Fluttermane is now slower. So that does mean that Aaron is going to be able to pick this one up, most likely. Yeah, battle is canceled. Moonblast would have just knocked out the Koraidon, and Aaron loses the Koraidon, but ends up winning the game. Game number 1, one away from the finals here. Game number 2 about to get underway here. The semi-final round here of our challenge here. One of the last 2 sets we'll see on stream here of Regulation G, so hope everyone's enjoying it. It's a Koraidon mirror match. Really speaks to the diversity of playstyle in Regulation G, you know? You start with everyone saying, it's going to be Calyrex Ice, it's going to be Calyrex Shadow, maybe people play Terapagos, and then you get a bunch of Zamazenta, and you get a bunch of Miraidon, and you get a bunch of Koraidon, and you get a bunch of Lunala, and just so many different restricteds that we've seen, and so many things answering different options. It was an interesting format, and it's, I guess, still going on in Sevilla, but not here, and Spain's not real, so... Curious to see if either of these players decides to switch anything up here. fact that neither one of them can really gain additional speed priority with the Sun is probably going to make them play a little bit different here. Neither Fluttermane is actually advantaged or disadvantaged by being in or out of Sun to a particular degree. And here we go, game number 2. Anthony going to lead. Koraidon on the Fluttermane. It's the Fluttermane and the Chi-Yu on the other end, so we are going to get the Sun out. Again, we will see. I don't believe that... Ooh, one thing I actually didn't realize about Anthony's Fluttermane. It has Shadow Ball and not... Or it has Dazzling Gleam and not Shadow Ball. So that means it actually plays a lot worse into that Fluttermane Mirror matchup than I had previously believed, which could make it a lot more awkward for the Fluttermane, or Anthony's Fluttermane, to try to make serious contributions here. Question here, Shadow Ball does a ton of damage to Anthony's Fluttermane, but does not pick up the knockout. Moonblast would knock out Koraidon if it does not Terra, but it's decently likely to Terra. One thing about bringing out the Sun does mean that the Fluttermanes have speed priority rather than the Chi-Yu, which otherwise has Choice Scarf. And I think Anthony just wants to read what the Chi-Yu locks itself into. The Fluttermane went for a Shadow Ball into the other Fluttermane, and Chi-Yu probably going to lock into Heat Wave, yeah. So, nothing happening that turn, but at the very least we do have information that Heat Wave is the lock from Chi-Yu right now. It does make it a little bit awkward. Again, it just is a matter of how the speed tiers play around here. Does Anthony's Fluttermane want to go for something like an Icy Wind, try to slow down the Chi-Yu, and then get Koraidon to outspeed the Chi-Yu to pick up big damage or a knockout onto it before you can get finished off, assuming even that it's not a speed tie between the Fluttermanes. Can't forget the Terra Ghost on the Chi-Yu, which I think is what we're about to see right now. Yes, it is. It'll make it completely immune to the Collision Course, which is the best move into the Chi-Yu that the Koraidon has, and so that could make this matchup much better for Aaron. We're going to see the Terra the other direction as well, though. It's Koraidon going to Terra Fire. Maybe it's a read going for the Flare Blitz into that slot. We can only imagine. Could also just be saying, okay, I'm not going to get hit by Moonblast, but you're not getting hit by Moonblast. Shadow Ball going to take down Fluttermane to 1 HP. And the Heat Wave, if it connects, will finish it off. It goes for the Icy Wind, so Anthony does get a little bit of that speed priority. Does break the Fluttermane Sash as well. It was the Flare Blitz. Was it red into the Chi-Yu? Looks like it was. Anthony picks up the knockout, and Chi-Yu burns the Terra for nothing. Huge play there for Anthony, and with Fluttermane still just on that 1 lingering HP, it's a really good turn for Anthony. And a really good position in general for Anthony to play out of. Because at this point, an Icy Wind and either a Flare Blitz or a... well, probably a Flare Blitz. There's really no downside at this point. Aaron will really have to play out of the back of this team. I don't really know if there are the options to do that remaining right now. There is the Moonblast going into the Brute Bonnet, not even going for the Icy Wind or anything. I guess it wasn't super necessary, although it could have made the Koraidon a little less scared of that Shadow Ball, but doesn't really matter. Flare Blitz going to go into the Flutter Mane and pick up that knockout. Brute Bonnet going to linger here, though. Rhydon takes some serious recoil, and Seed Bomb will finish off the Flutter Mane, but the damage has already been done. Flutter Mane got a lot of work done there. Aaron will need to send in that final Pokemon now. Anthony, it looks like he's taking his time to decide what he wants to bring in here. It will be the Ogerpon against that Koraidon. Now, big difference between these two grass-type redirectors that we've talked about before. The Ogerpon has the Follow Me, so you can pull away, for example, the Spore, which I think could have been an out for Aaron in some universes. And honestly, Aaron not in a terrible spot. It's just the Koraidon up against a host of enemies. Yeah, Ogerpon will use the Follow Me to draw away some of the damage here. And we'll keep the Koraidon standing, with the Scale Shot going to come through. It will hit at least 4 times. There's 2, 3, 4, and it only hits 4 times, and it doesn't get the range to KO. It means the Ogerpon will barely stay standing. It's almost like a Sturdy. And the Breaking Swipe will do a ton of damage to Koraidon and a bit of damage to Brute Bonnet as well. And if the Brute Bonnet went for a Seed Bomb here, it might have gotten something done, but it was the Spore. That's not going to get anything. And that should be it for this one. Another Breaking Swipe should... I don't know if it'll finish off both these targets, but with one Pokemon still in the back for Anthony, it's looking pretty over. I don't think anything in the back loses to Brute Bonnet with just Seed Bomb. It's Indeedee. It's Indeedee in the back. Things are gonna be rough for Anthony, but I'd be pretty surprised. There's the Follow Me once again for Anthony's Ogerpon. Collision Course going to pick up the knockout. And that simply means that we are going to get another Breaking Swipe. Oh no, it's a Collision Course actually, going to take out the Brute Bonnet first. And the Sun drops off on top of everything else. And it is the Raging Bolt. So yeah, no way out of this one for Aaron at this point. I think I'm trying to think of something, and it's simply not coming to me. A Dragon Pulse will KO, and a Breaking Swipe will KO, and both of those attacks will certainly hit the Koraidon. So I don't really have an answer here for Anthony to get out of here. Looks like... do the Scale Shot. It actually is relevant to see how much the Scale Shot does to the Raging Bolt. Looks like it's going to be a 2-shot in general. The 4th hit. And we'll see it hit all 5 this time. Would have probably preferred to get that one against the Ogerpon, but... still, I mean, it shows that it does decent damage against the Raging Bolt, but doesn't KO without the... even while it's Partial Dragon. And the crit, the very important crit, it matters to me, on the Breaking Swipe to pick up the win. Anthony Ascencia with the Game 2 victory, and we head to Game number 3. Games have been very methodical so far, mostly because of, I guess the nature of the mirror is just that these Flutter Manes are playing around the speed control so heavily. It's so much about which one of these Flutter Manes can get the speed that they need, which one can get the Icy Winds off, which one gets Icy Winds on the other Flutter mains. That game too is definitely partially decided by Anthony. It's going with a going with a really smart play with the Flare Blitz into the Chi-Yu, which covered the Terra Ghost that would have blanked the Collision Course. You have to imagine Aaron won't necessarily fall for that again, but you don't necessarily know what the play is, even if you know what the play isn't, and that play going wrong definitely makes you start to question, like, okay, how do I necessarily play around this in the next game? Do you think the Flutterbane Chi-Yu is not a bad lead? As they do both layer damage very well, and it threatens Crydon immediately to go for the Frastal. See something a bit different. I think Aaron wants to take early control of this one. Game number 3 of our semi-finals. Winner of this heads to the finals. And it's the same leads on Anthony's side, the Fluttermane and the Koraidon. On Aaron's side, the Brute Bonnet is there. The Brute Bonnet will, of course, get a defense boost in Photosynthesis. I think. Let's make sure. Yeah, it's a defense boost. And that does now mean this will play out a bit different between the Koraidon and the two Fluttermanes. With the Brute Bonnet on the field now, able to threaten Spore against these two Pokemon, which could certainly create a ton of early tempo in this game. I think Aaron at this point has to feel pretty confident that his Fluttermane is faster than Anthony's. I don't think there's been any instance of Anthony's being faster at the same speed break point. We're getting instant Terra out of the Koraidon. Terra Fire. Cannot let itself get hit by the Moonblast, of course, and so that's why that needs to be burned immediately. But the other way, we're going to see the Terastal on the Brute Bonnet. Terra Water. Going to make it no longer weak to Moonblast, and no longer weak, actually resistant to the Flare Blitz, and no longer weak to Collision Course, so a lot of benefits there. We'll get Aaron's Icy Wind coming out first. Or excuse me, Aaron's Icy Wind came out first. Yeah, Anthony's Icy Wind coming the other way next. So just Icy Winds in both directions. Flare Blitz in the sun into Fluttermane. That'll pick up a knockout. So the Terra from the Brute Bonnet not going to matter in a immediate sense of reducing or increasing the amount of damage it deals. But the Spore is still activated. Aaron did get the Spore off. That puts Aaron in a good spot. Anthony might have to switch out the Koraidon here. That would not necessarily be ideal, because you kind of need it to eventually get work done. And also, you don't want to be super passive in front of a Chi-Yu right now and potentially lose any advantage that you did gain from the one Pokemon advantage that you got at the start there. What is the play? Lots of options, as always, lots of options. It's going to be the Fluttermane switching out, actually. Going to try to preserve the speed priority, I believe. Raging Bolt coming in. We'll activate Photosynthesis and get that special attack boost. Brute Bonnet switches out as well, which I believe means that Koraidon is staying in while asleep here. Koraidon comes out on the other end. With Terra already burned, we know what the Koraidon has to be in terms of its typing. And Raging Bolt takes very little damage against that Flamethrower. And there's the first sleep turn from the Koraidon. So Koraidon's still at -1 speed. It will be slower than Aaron's Koraidon. Anthony's Koraidon will be slower than Aaron's Koraidon. Raging Bolt is here, and it's not taking much damage against the Flamethrower. Neither of these Pokemon is actually taking a lot of damage against Flamethrower. Bigger issue is probably Aaron's Koraidon, but I can't say it's threatening a ton of damage right now. Ooh, but we do know the Scale Shot, if it hits 5 times, will probably KO Raging Bolt from this range. Even 4 could be close. So it could come down to that. Chiyu's going to switch out. It'll also take away Beads of Ruin from the Koraidon, but also stop a Thunderclap if that's the goal right now. No Thunderclap. Scale Shot gets the... Oh, it's because it's in Sun now. It's doing a ton of damage because it's now boosted by the Sun. It will absolutely pick up the knockout. Now the big question, does Anthony's Koraidon wake up right now? No, it does not. It stays asleep. Thing has to wake up if Anthony wants to try to figure this one out. See what Pokemon he decides to send in. It's either going to be the Fluttermane or whatever that 4th Pokemon is. Most likely the Ogerpon if it's the same as the previous 2 games. That is the Fluttermane coming back in. Focus Sash was burned, keep in mind. But it is now easily the fastest thing on the field. However, with the Rage Powder available for the Brute Bonnet, there are a lot of options. You can Rage Powder away a Moonblast, aiming at Koraidon. You can protect Koraidon and Spore the Fluttermane. You do have to worry a little bit about Protect, especially if you're playing a little too passive right now and let the Koraidon wake up on Anthony's side. Although you know yours is faster regardless. It's the Dazzling Gleam, and that should pick up the knockout on Koraidon. It does. I forgot it was Dazzling Gleam and not Moonblast, and that will certainly knock out. Koraidon's still asleep. 4 turns of sleep. It'll have to wake up next turn, but the Spore comes through. And now it is just a question of can Chiyu get the work done. Brute Bonnet has basically done its job at this point. It's spored Koraidon for the full 5 turns. Can Chiyu get its job done? The final turn of Sun as well. Chiyu has to pick something to lock into at this point. You don't know what's in the back, but Dark Pulse is a safe enough bet. Koraidon is stuck as the Fire type. It's neutral against Fluttermane. It's neutral against everything else on Anthony's team. Neutral at worst against everything else on the team. Koraidon finally wakes up and gets the Protect. Brute Bonnet going for a Rage Powder, trying to pull away the damage that Koraidon's going to try to get down here. Fluttermane stays asleep, and somehow the Choice Scarf Pokemon is going to be the last one to move here. It's the Heat Wave. They're locking into the Heat Wave here. And it will pick up the knockout on the Fluttermane, with the Beads of Ruin going to get there. And Sun disappears as well. Photosynthesis wears off, so the defense will no longer be boosted. And it is the Ogerpon in that last slot for Anthony. Ogerpon and Koraidon against Brute Bonnet and Chiyu. Can go for the Wood Hammer into the Brute Bonnet if you are Anthony. with that Rage Powder coming through here. I believe the Koraidon's still at -1 speed. Chiyu gets to go first with the Heat Wave. A burn could really matter here. Does not burn. Collision Course. Oh, the Koraidon actually moved first. Thought it was a -1, but I guess not. I guess it doesn't matter regardless. Ooh, Ivy Cudgel. It ignored the Rage Powder because it's a grass type and got the Ivy Cudgel into the Chiyu. And that picks up the knockout, and there's no way that Brute Bonnet is going to be able to Seed Bomb Koraidon down. Anthony Ascencia, I almost got the wrong side of the call there. Anthony Ascencia wins the Koraidon mirror and will progress on to the finals. What an incredible set there. Again, really methodical between both those players, and eventually Anthony just found that advantage very near the end. The sleep turns really got dicey there, but a great job by Anthony Ascencia, and we will see him in the finals in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.